So, ladies and gents, we are now on Coronation Street, and one of the first things that strikes you on this part of the street is the blocks of flats that are on the other side of this building. As you can see, they're huge when compared to the other buildings that surround this part of town. You see what I mean? Because until recently, the planning permissions, or in the local plan, basically said buildings in Cambridge. So I'm just trying to get the camera to flip round. Thank you, that's better. Stated that buildings were not allowed to be much taller than treetop height. So what we have here is 8-storey blocks of flats that were built in the post-war period. And remember again, the country was suffering in that post-war period from a huge housing shortage because of the bombings, and also people moving out of London. Remember, the current population of London is not the biggest it's ever been. In the run-up to the Second World War, it was very much closer to 10 million than the 7 or 8 million it currently is. The building that we've got here that I came down to have a look at is this one. And we saw the back of that building when we were on Russell Street. Now, it's got 2 markers on it at the moment. The first is the St Paul's Parish Institute, which obviously links it to St Paul's Church, which you can see at the very end of the road just there. And the other thing that you can see, obviously it's now owned and run by the Stephen Peirce Foundation, was that as a building it was taken over in 1994 by the Peirce School for Girls, and we can see that in, as you can see in the inscription just above the inscription for St Paul's. Now, moving down further, and again, you can imagine a lot of the homes in this area that got demolished were very much on the ones of the scale that we're seeing just on the other side of the camera here on Bentinck Street. So you can imagine a lot of the small homes that you have there being replaced by those. You can just get a sense of the numbers of people that you can get in there. What we have to my left, just over here, is the main entrance to St Paul's School. And about 10 years ago, I used to go to ballroom dancing classes that were held there during my Cambridge Dancers Club days. On the other side, just over there, you've got the huge chemistry department, and I think it's the Unilever building of Cambridge University. Again, we're seeing a lot more of the post-war housing and flats around here. One of the things that gives it away, obviously, is the brick bond, because what we have here, and I learnt this at primary school, and for some reason I've never forgot it, is you've got long, 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 which is the stretcher bond. And this one on the wall of the Peirce School for Girls, short, long, 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 short, long, 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 short, which actually indicates that, first of all, the wall there is not very thick, or is, shall we say, 2 bricks thick, whereas this one potentially is only 1 with insulation in between. But basically what it allows us to do is it allows us to date and age the buildings. Now, coming through all the way to the end, we've got a pub called the Panton Arms, which I always found amusing during my teens because I was known as Anton rather than Anthony. Named after a local aristocrat, I believe. Now, we're going to the bit of town that I wanted to get to, but just before we do so, behind me there is St Mary's, which is another private school in Cambridge, and the rest of the Peirce for Girls, as you can see behind me, is just there. Now, these are the smaller side roads that actually I really wanted to get into to show you if my recording time will let me. Because this is the neighbourhood that Jack Overhill lived in with his wife, Jess, and his 2 children, also called Jack and Jess. And again, this gives you a very nice indication of the homes that were here. So you've got a nice mixture of what are effectively now gentrified working houses to ones that are aimed at more affluent people, to the much larger townhouses that are over, and we can actually get a glimpse of them. If I just do this, you can see just over there is Brookside. And those were the signs of the earliest expansion of Cambridge during the 1800s. I'm going to have to stop now because I've run out of memory.